Shettima, and I want to join Fola in congratulating you for what you've been able to achieve in Borno. And also to ask, what are some of the things you've done to be able to achieve, this much success? Where do you need more help? And what are you saying to the private sector to help you do to achieve more? And finally, what are some of the things we need to put in place to prevent these situations from recurring? Not just the humanitarian response now, but to fundamentally change the situation.
The real problem of the Northeast and the nation has to do with inequality. Nigeria is ranked, based on the Gini coefficient, as one of the 35 most unequal nations in the world. And underneath the mayhem of Boko Haram, beneath the nihilism lies the real cause, which is extreme poverty. Yeah. And these emergencies, this issue of insurgencies and the re-emergence of emergencies are not really episodic events, but the culmination, the manifestation of lingering crisis that has been on for so long, and they symptomatize in the forms of upons like the Boko Haram and the Janjaweed militia and so on. So our focus in Borno is not all about doom and gloom. How can we pick up the pieces of our lives? The Chinese word for crisis is way days. Way stands for danger, and days for opportunity. We really want to see what opportunity that will come out of this sad crisis. Along this line, we are addressing 3 or 4 fundamental issues. One of the issues that we'll have to address has to do with education. Education is the greatest game changer. As one saga rightly said, through education, within a generation, the son of a senseless peasant can be a celebrated icon. I am the son of a Quranic teacher. I cite myself as a typical example. Al-Haji Kari Abba sitting here is the son of a feudal lord, of a local feudal lord. But our access to Western education literally made us what we are. And we are determined to change the narrative. We are determined to change the pace of history because men make history. History is not created for men. So believe me, where there is a will, there is always the way. We are determined to change the pace of Borno. The destructions are enormous. I cannot downplay the fact that Borno bore the brunt of the destruction. People were quoting 20,000 people killed. Believe me, over 100,000 people lost their lives. In Maiduguri alone, we have an open population of around 49,000. We have widows, over 50,000. We have them in all. Our IDP camps spread across the nooks and crannies of the state, in Monguno, in Dikwa, in Gamborungala, in Bama, in Banki, in Pulka, in Goza, in Biu. We have hundreds of thousands of orphans and widows. And these orphans and widows, if we fail to take care of them, believe me, 10 to 15 years down the line, they will take care of us. They will be the Frankenstein monsters that will consume all of us. So apart from making efforts, a reconstruction and rehabilitation, it's not an issue of bricks and mortar. It goes beyond that. We have to build in the stabilization factor. Women and children bore the brunt of this madness. What can we do to deliberately engage in gender empowerment issues? What can we do to encourage girl-child education? So we want to vigorously, aggressively pursue the issue of the girl-child education. And in all the communities that we are rebuilding, we are basing the ownership of the homes We have so far rebuilt Tamsukau, Mainta Kururi, Mainok, Auno, Benishek. We have moved to Bama and Goza. We'll soon move to Damasek. In all the new homes that we are constructing, we are vesting the ownership of the houses jointly on the men and the women. I know the weight of what I am saying with all sense of responsibility. I must admit that our men are very irresponsible. Because if you base, I'm sorry to the men here, if you base the ownership of those houses on the men, there are two likely scenarios. One, the man will drive away the older wife and bring in a 13-year-old girl to hold pot. The second option is that he will altogether dispose that house, relocate to Maiduguri, rent a house, buy big gowns like the one I'm wearing, and become a professional politician. So these are the scenarios we are trying to avoid. And you have to invest in the peace even in the midst of crisis. I'm not a soothsayer. I'm just an ordinary agricultural economist. But 3 years ago, I read an interesting piece why, because of hydraulic fracking and horizontal drilling, the price of oil is going to collapse by 2015 to less than $35. So I added 2 and 2. I deployed all my resources towards procuring agricultural implements. Because, believe me, once we engage the youth, once we create jobs, this madness will evaporate. And agriculture provides us with the best platform of engaging the youth. And some of the statistics I may give you might be very frightening, because by 2020, Nigeria's population will be 210 million. By 2030, there will be 270 million Nigerians. And by 2050, it is projected that Nigeria will be the 3rd most populous nation on earth with a population of 440 million. And the most frightening aspect is that by 2050, 70% of Nigerians will live in northern Nigeria. Because the nation even now is bifurcated along 2 lines, a much more prosperous, stable, educated south with family sizes of 3, 4, maximum 5, and a north that is literally turning into a basket case with desertification, with deforestation, endemic poverty, pervasive illiteracy. These are the recipe for disaster. And unless we as leaders, including members of the NESG that are sitting in the cozy comfort of Hilton in Abuja and pontificating about on national issues, unless we wear our thinking caps and come up with solutions, fundamental solutions to some of the challenges confronting us, or otherwise, the youth bulge that we'll experience in 20, 30 years down the line will either provide us with huge dividends or will harvest monumental disasters.
Correct.
But I want to pay tribute to one of your members, 2 of your members, in fact, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, and I want to mention Paula Adiola. He has been galvanizing support, and he promised to visit Maiduguri very soon, because there are times when you need to really motivate people. You really need to give credit to whom credit is due. But believe me, there will be peace in Borno. We are determined to change the pace of history. We are going to invest heavily with the limited resources at our disposal and the support of the federal authorities and well-meaning Nigerians in the welfare of our people, in education, in job creation, in gender empowerment, and in girl child education. Infrastructure will come maybe 5th or 6th. Yeah, we know power is very essential. It's a sine qua non for any industrial take-up. But we have to stabilize the society before we really talk about power and other issues.